Hello, everyone. I am here with Elena Timofeeva, who is the co-founder, CEO, COO, and director of R&D at Influit Energy, LLC. She's also a research associate professor at Illinois Institute of Technology. She explores the nanotechnology and materials to create ways that surfaces can be modified to store electrical charge, making more efficient batteries.
Hello, everybody. Yes.
So, Elena, we had a couple questions for you here at Insana Tech, and it's been kind of interesting because you are one of the first people to come out of the woodwork for us in a while. We would like to know, if you think about all the experiences of your life so far, what it was so powerful that drew you to science?
So quite honestly, I think it's people that are powerful and that drew us one direction or another. So I had an awesome chemistry teacher in high school. And even though I didn't necessarily want to be a chemist, I'm a chemist. But he sort of showed me the path how to be good at chemistry. And I was like, okay, it's not a big deal. I can do that. So, but overall, I just generally have a lot of interest in different things, just general curiosity. I thought I'm going to be a doctor when I was in high school. I really wanted to be a doctor. And the chemistry teacher, he really pushed me and pushed my limits. And we were traveling to the conferences in high school. And he talked me into practicing getting into the university at chemistry department before I go to medical, right? So we went to the practice run of the exams at chemistry department, and I easily passed. And he's like, do you really want to try again? You're going to lose this entry if you go to medical. There's like, is it yes or no? Are you going to stay here or are you going to go next? Like next level of trying for another college. And, essentially family talked me into just taking this opportunity, just like study there for a year, see how you feel. Maybe you always can go further. But I settled on that. It was fun, so.
That seems to be the way it works out really well, is just keep going, follow your curiosity, and really just keep going and see where you end up without really pushing it into committing, just going, it's still good, I'll keep going.
Yes. And, we all have our natural talents. We not always clearly see them. Like I recommend exploring everything that may catch your attention. If you're definitely not interested or bored with something, move on, do something different. But if something catches you and that might be your true calling and you're going to be successful at it if you have a passion about the subject. So regardless what it is. So.
Do you think you would have actually used doctorship as like, an actual physical doctor if this didn't work?
Yeah, I can't say that I don't have regrets not going all the way through. So sometimes when I'm in the hospital and I see the doctors and kind of respect and the impact they have on people's life, and like the impact in the sense that it's the immediate reward, right? So like whatever we do in the lab, my like 10 years of work may or may not result in something big, right? And I'm not going to see it right away. When doctor cures a patient and patient is happy and walking, and it's a gratitude paid right away. So, and sometimes when I'm in the hospital, it's like I put as much time into studying and learning as these people, and I have utmost respect for all the doctors. But my impact is not as noticeable as theirs.
You never know. You might find an interface to be able to say, keep the heart rate monitors actually working and functioning for a lot longer.
And I'm not saying like I'm in regret of what I'm doing now, but there's always a second thought that that could have been alternative universe for my existence. Alternative storyline. So I mean, that's nowhere here or there. So but people, and especially young people, like I highly encourage exploration, right? So exploration and sort of imagining yourself in people's shoes, understanding how their life goes, and if you want to be that person in the future, don't want to be this like in this position in the future. So like early on exposure to stuff like that would definitely help forming the right path and shortest path. Like, because also like you can arrive to your dream job in many different ways. There's different routes. So to minimize the path and increase the efficiency, right? Because for example, like if somebody spends like 20 years trying to find the right area, they have like lost 10 years of productive life, right? So they're not going to be impactful for those 10 years of extra studies they've done, or they weren't at the right job that they're, enjoyed. So they lost 10 years of productivity and joy and everything. So like my like perspective on all of this, you need to find the shortest path to where you want to be. But to do that, you need to know where you want to be. Right? You can only get there. Yeah, you can only get to your dream job if you know what it is. Like the past. You might not know it at the beginning, and you wander around where you want to be, and it's okay. It's okay. It's life, it's experience. But young people, they can explore now. Nothing stops them understanding what the life of a scientist at the national lab looks like, or the life of an entrepreneur looks like. And I think the educational programs like yours help understand where they may end up.
And also,
if they choose one or another path.
Exactly. And it's like, I know that you're currently in academia right now and industry. What is that interface like? And what's it like going from one to the other? Do you work on the same thing in the same place? Or do you have two different buildings?
No, definitely separation. You want to put a firewall, because once you get into some valuable stuff, everyone wants it and everyone claims the rights for it. So as an employee of the university, everything I do during my time at university belongs to university. Okay, everything I do at my time at the company belongs to the company. So I have to have a very clear firewall between the activities I do here and there. Okay, so it is not crossing over at all, except for, I can, if I see a good student, I can hire them to the company. And being at university is a secondary for me right now, right? Being a professor. So I do participate in advising graduate students and directing their research, but it's not a primary role for me. And it's sort of more like a hobby, like an outlet. Because yes, company does a certain thing, and I can pull a company in many, many directions, right? So I need to focus on the product and the where we're going as a big vision. We can't be like doing everything that comes to Elena's head, right? So, but university allows me to, delegate exploration of certain ideas that I might have to the students, and for them, again, it's a project that they wouldn't think of on their own, right? And then it becomes their PhD research or something, and it may or may not come to anything good, and then they're free to take it if they want to do a company about it. So, and for me, it's like I have plenty on my plate. I have a lot of ideas, but so that's two separate things, obviously. So, and yes, did I answer the question?
Yes, you did, at least that first part of it. The second part would be, what was it like for you personally to transition from pure academia, say as a PhD student or as a young professor, to going, I have a business idea, and actually making that move intellectually over to industry as, kind of an interface?
Okay, so I worked at my postdoc. was at the Argonne National Lab. So it's sort of academic, but we don't teach there. It's like only research activities. We do work with the undergrad and graduate students, but no lectures or nothing, right? Just research focused position. And when you get a permanent position there, you kind of do the same, but at a higher pay and more stability than a postdoc. So just a correction, it's not necessarily academia, it's somewhere in between academia and the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I worked there and I was quite happy. I mean, the position there was my dream position. As I was graduating, I drew it to my head. It's like I want to, even though I was graduating in Moscow, Russia, right? And I happened to be once at Argonne on the territory, and I saw the facility. I was like, oh my gosh, my head explodes. It's so cool. I want to work there. So like, it's just like, I can't believe this actually exists, this facility, access to all the tools, and like so many scientists, and everything is created for the scientists. So when I made my weight, like essentially like I did exactly what I tell people they should be doing. They should do research on where they want to be. They should pick a position, a location where they want to be, and then consistently sort out the opportunities that would bring them there. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and you might not think of them and not notice them unless you know if it's the right move or not, right? In a sense. So like I found my way from Moscow, Russia, no green card, no nothing, no visa even, to being a postdoc at Argonne, and it was my goal. So no mystery there, just like consistently trying to find people, trying to network, trying to position myself. And I tell you, it wasn't the first job interview that I got hired. So I got few rejections on the way, and it's okay, you know. So, but we, I end up being there. It was my dream job. So, and for quite a few years, I was super happy with my job, dream job. But eventually, you kind of settle in position and you want more. You have a next dream over. And I happened to get into the entrepreneurial training program for scientists. So National Science Foundation funds those a lot. And initially, I got there sort of by mistake, by accident, let's say, by accident. I didn't plan on like developing in that direction, but we had a project that said, you need to develop a commercialization plan for your technology. And it's like, what? Commercialization plan? What it is? I don't know. I'm doing research. My technology is awesome. Like, what else do you want to know? So, and there's like, no, you have to. Otherwise, we take money away from you, from the research. It's like, okay.
They
So
want to know the broader impacts, I believe, is what their statement is for the most part.
It's like, no, how this product will be taken from the lab, like what steps it will take for the technology to get to the market, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a commercialization plan. And, we're just like, okay, if we need to do it, we need to learn how to do it. So we sign up for that entrepreneurship training. It's called I-Core program. NSF sponsors this, and we went through this, and initially saw so much skepticism from the whole team. What do they want from us? Like, quite honestly, I got on stage and I present 3-minute pitch technology, and then the mentor, stands up and it's like in the microphone, it's like, boring. Like, so that was like, we were ready to walk out, but I'm glad we didn't. So and that's essentially first they hit us hard, then they actually came up and checked on us, how we doing as a team, and like what are we not understanding about the process, and what the next steps. And it's actually turned out to be the most transformational 4 days in my life, I would say. But it started like that. I had no intention of changing my perception of science and everything, but at the end of those 4 days, I started thinking differently. I feel like my brain got melted by just and then reformed in different way. And since then, I couldn't think of science just as a science. I just had to start thinking about it as like more complete picture. Where is it going to fit in the world, and what impact it's going to have, and how would we take it from now to then? Like what steps, and who are the players, who are the customers, and all this stuff. So that was my transition. Otherwise, I would never do it. I'd probably be happy at Argonne forever.
I have to see if we can get some of our students into that, because it sounds like a really fun thing to learn and just a nice way to kind of shift and see
Right.
that science is not just science in itself, but it actually has a place in the rest of the world, and it impacts a lot more than just what happens in the lab. So that's kind of fun.
Right. And then I think it's very rewarding to see how what you do in the lab, like what steps it takes. And is it going to actually, a lot of technologies, I feel like after like transformation happened to me, I feel like a lot of technologies that are being developed have no chance of making any impact. They're beautiful. They're like, but they can be reproduced at picoscale and nanoscale. And it's okay, we're learning something from this type of experiments, right? So, but we shouldn't be doing the false claims that it's going to solve the battery problem, for example, right? So it is more of the fundamental study, and we learn about material, and I have nothing against that.
We
But
got to start somewhere. It's interesting to see how you build on those fundamentals, and then you kind of increase your knowledge and go, wait, this can solve a problem.
sure, but
But
there
then you
should
got to
be
learn like 7
no,
more things on top of it.
yes, but I think people should not be like, a lot of people are delusional on how far it can go. I mean, and this check mark should be considered, right? So like you should be able to see 7 steps ahead that it would take to get there. But a lot of like papers and research projects claim, okay, we made a nanogram of this material. It's going to save the world. No, it's not. I mean,
no, there's so much more than that.
right, and like that's sort of the and the research approach changes then, right? So obviously, I have no patience for that kind of research now. So and I transitioned from like being more of the academic to more industrial research. So like my research is about, I down select materials that I'm going to test based on the cost of material and scalability of the process. And it's, otherwise I'm going to like run my company to the ground if I take it the wrong direction.
Does marketing ever come into your decision making, such as, going, this material, while it's cheap, it's easy to find and it's reproducible, it's not necessarily environmentally friendly enough to put on a marketing thing, so you choose like the next one that might be in line that's a little bit more marketing friendly, environmentally friendly, and kind of like skip over the one that's cheapest?
Like, you're going to hate me now, but industry doesn't care about the environment yet.
Oh, I know. But sometimes I know that people in different industries, they actually will make decisions going, but because I can't sell it, I won't use that.
Right.
I didn't know nanotechnology is
the stage
there
that R&D that we right now, like we need a success, even if it's going to be a little like the idea is like we're going to work on the environmental friendly part later on, right? So let's make it work first. So that's my position right now, because if I'm going to opt out, I mean, first of all, I mean, the technology that we are developing is going to replace oil. Okay, so replace, it's already a huge impact. The fact that it may be corrosive, but it's a recyclable fuel, right? So,
And everything's got a give and take. So that's part of the story
right,
we
I
have to
cannot
explain in
give
business.
I cannot, if I say, okay, let's make something that will replace oil and it's not corrosive, it's not my technology right now, right? So let's make my technology work. We can show the possibility of replacing oil with a fluid that is rechargeable. And then we might consider, alternative compositions, because you can't invent everything from the very scratch. We need to use the current battery chemistries. We change the format of it. So you have to dance from some core technology knowing that it's not going to fail. Because if I start inventing the battery chemistry, format, everything, I guarantee myself for a failure, right? So at this point, environment, I mean, I think it's overall my technology is going to help the environment, right? It doesn't mean that every single part of this technology is super green, right? So
It's always a fight to find those kind of things. What is the most challenging part of your research then?
I don't know. I mean, everything is challenging. I
Is
mean,
there one thing that you look forward to if everything's challenging? Because that's actually part of the fun of science, is the challenge. Is there one part of the challenges that you look forward to the most?
well, I like when it all works.
That is probably the best answer I've ever heard, because we've all had those moments, even us at the beginning of it, going, why doesn't it work? Why doesn't it work? Why doesn't it work? And then suddenly it works and you're like, yes, it worked. Wait, why?
Exactly. I think we're talking the same language here. So
I know that when you took these courses, the 4-day thing, that you couldn't have gotten really in depth with some of the business. And how much did they teach you about legal issues and financing for your sciences?
they gave us a pretty good webinars. I actually took several of those courses. Then when I decided that I'm not going to be happy just being a scientist anymore, I need to develop into the entrepreneurial part of it. I actually the Influit Energy had not picked up yet. We haven't got funding or investment yet. So I was kind of exploring different possibilities, and I had created another startup with my husband that was a farming related, closed loop farming with growing fish and vegetables and stuff. We kind of liked aquarium and aquaponic idea. So we tried to develop that startup in parallel with the Influit Energy. And I took that startup idea to another training, like an entrepreneurial training. It was called the Clean Tech Open. I highly recommend. It's a pretty good program. And they took us to actually Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley cases were telling the stories on the legal issues and financing issues. I mean, it's all generalized until you start applying it to your specific situation. But we got a lot of good advices there. And once we were in the situation that required us to understand the legal issues with the technology and how to deal with people, so then the information that you receive from the outside kind of start making sense, and you create it for yourself, right? I don't think without going through actual school, you can easily pick things up. You can read a brief, kind of articles or even a book chapter on how to handle all of this, but it all depends on the specific situation. And if you have something more specific, I can kind of give my perspective on it. Like
Well, no, it's
otherwise,
more like what kind of tips would you offer somebody who's just sort of stepping into this world, in the world of navigating the legal issues or even navigating financing? Because you said that you did, you got outside funding, so that's a
so
completely
as
different
far as
tack
the legal
than.
issues, you mean the intellectual property issues?
Mhm.
Okay, so I mean, patents are expensive, and patents are not the only way to protect your intellectual property. So that's my main advice. So you can go after patents, and initial filing of the patent is pretty cheap. Like it's within $500 to just file a provisional patent. But once it protects you for a year. But once you file a real patent, it takes, like, first of all, you need to pay a legal, like, lawyer's cost to formulate it, even though they just take your write up and put the words whereas and stuff in the right places. They charge you like $15,000 for it. So, well, depends who you go to. And but I don't think patents are necessary all the time. So there's a trade secrets that you can keep within the company and just keep your mouth closed.
Yeah.
So, and be careful how do you what kind of information you share and don't share. That can save you a lot of money. Definitely every employee that we hiring, we ask for sign non-disclosure agreement. Everything that is created in the company cannot be shared, and that puts employee into like responsible position. So if we know some leak had happened, that we know who is most likely responsible. And then there are like litigation will be against the employee for a former employee. So that's one way of protecting the intellectual property. But like if you go for international, the other problem with the patents that I really hate is like, okay, you filed for a patent, you have a protection, but they publish it worldwide within 18 months of your filing, and everybody knows your secrets.
Yes. It's
It's
been a
out
thorn in
there.
our side too.
And the only thing patent does, it gives you a right to go after people who violate your rights, right? And it costs a lot of money for small companies, non-feasible, right? If you plan on manufacturing something you're doing, like I don't think patents are like such a great strategy. I mean, actually, that's it. So I wrote a book chapter that is being published soon. So it's in the process. And there's the section in the book chapter is about the IP strategy as I see it. So there's a certain decision tree you need to go through to decide if you need a patent or not. So but besides the patents, there's other ways to protect yourself. Okay,
After
but
this interview,
there's a
we'll have,
court. Huh?
and like after this, we'll definitely have to put list of that to the book of that, so that way people can find it later on, and once it's actually published, so we can go read that.
Sure, it's a Wiley. I think it's a book on chemistry entrepreneurship. So it's like
Okay.
actually the book chapter. The book is quite interesting, I think, for in general if people are interested. So it's like specific to, let's say, chemistry or science, hard sciences. Like how do you do business? Like how do you become entrepreneur in this field, right? And I specifically talked about the battery businesses because that's my field. And the IP strategy, yes, the way, but like I learned it a hard way. I learned it a hard way because we actually our company spent quite a bit of money on trying to protect international rights initially because our advisors told us so, like you need international patent, let's file in this countries. Okay, we chimed in like $40,000. It was a huge like bootstrapping effort,
Yes.
right? And then we do all this, and then there's like annual maintenance fee of $11,000. Like every year you are under protection. It was like we had to abandon it. We had to truly abandon that like efforts. Like we can't just chime in $11,000 for some unknown right to sue somebody.
Yes.
So,
That would definitely classify as a hurdle in business.
and it's just one patent that, like doesn't cover everything, so you have to have a lot of money to actually be able to do this IP thing. US patents are a little more manageable, but if you start filing like multiple countries, international, you need to pay for translations and stuff. I mean, it becomes a nightmare. I mean, you need really deep pockets. Like as a bootstrapper, I don't see doing it.
No, as a bootstrapper, we actually rely on cash flow a lot. You had mentioned that you get funding from an outside source. Are there any hurdles to that sort of thing that you would recommend people look out for when they approach that opportunity?
There is a certain, like my experience, and other people have told me that, but I didn't listen. So the relationship with the program manager, like we go after small business innovation research funding as their funding as a small company a lot. And I've been told many times that relationship with the program managers are very important, and they even know if your project's gonna be, two projects kind of see the same value in the program manager side. If you personally talk to him, he more likely give money to you than to the person he never heard of, right? So, and it's very competitive. There's a lot of situations where, you have to. So when you try to reach out to program managers that give out money, you don't be shy. Don't be shy, and don't like stand and say, oh, my project good. Maybe you'll fund us. I mean, in a sense, we did that 3 times. 2 times we got rejected. And after second time we got rejected, it's like we have to talk to program manager. And we talked to them and explained our position and everything. He got to know us. And the third time we applied with the corrections that they gave us, we got selected. So, I mean,
sounds like networking is a definite core function that is very necessary in your world
yeah,
too.
absolutely. I mean,
I keep telling everybody, network.
but like it's also, yeah, you have to, like, I didn't know how to network. You have to learn from somebody.
I actually teach a course on that in the school simply because I know how useful it is.
Yeah,
And we can get past our little awkwardnesses at first and just be like, take that leap. Sure, they might say no at first, but other times you get great people to work with like yourself who just say, yeah, I'll do an interview with you. And suddenly you get an interview.
no, definitely networking. And then the other thing is, like, say we have a team member who's like awesome at networking, right? So initially I tried to handle all the networking, and it kind of went okay. But once I realized that there are people who are more talented in certain areas and I'm talented in others, like I delegated networking to him, and it started flying. So that the team is important as well. They just put it out there. So like you can't do everything by yourself. I mean, you can try.
You could try, and
But
you
eventually,
do okay, but it really works better when you find somebody that does it better than you. It's what I've learned the hard way too.
it's more rewarding to have a team to people to share with. So like if you have people who on the same page with you, like don't push them away, embrace them, and see how you guys can do good stuff together. So that's my advice. So
That actually brings us to our second to the last question here. Well, it's kind of a multi-step question. Since you're juggling academia, business, family, how do you keep all of this organized? And do you have any favorite resources that you like that just make everything go smoothly?
you just planning. planning your day, planning your month, setting goals. So you know where, like, because it's easy when you have a lot, you easy to lose focus. So to keep focus, you need to have a target. So target and everything, and I try to not forget about other things I'm interested in that give me energy, like learning photography now, and that's been a great outlet to switch my mind, and it has inspired a lot of business as well. So like for example, we've been struggling with updating a website, and people was like, "Oh, I'll take care of it. I take care of it." A lot of people want to get involved, but nobody finishes the job, right? But now with my photography hobby, I started an Instagram account, and then I also have a stock of the images from our lab, not just random stock photography that we can utilize for a website and for our product and marketing and everything. And at the same time, I'm sort of benefiting the company, but also fulfilling my personal, like, creative things, right? So don't forget about them, because then, taking a camera around the lab for 15 minutes gives me like energy to like do many other things for many hours for work, like for the job, right?
It's always a challenge to find the fun and the business balance and everything. And see,
Right.
everybody thinks I'm crazy when I say you can do both at the
Yeah,
same time.
you can, you should, and you should actually. That's a problem that a lot of people limit themselves to doing one thing, I think. At least like my brain, like if I have two things going, I'm more productive in both than one. With one, I'm bored, and I'm always trying to find distractions. Like, if I have two things going, my brain is busy with both. I have two channels, and they're both busy, both productive. So I mean, and family, you need to have support. You can do everything yourself. So I mean, we don't have I have a supportive husband and the baby, and we juggling the baby between two of us. So it's but it creates a great bonding within the family, tight unit.
It really does when you get to work together for mutual goals. It helps a
Right.
lot that you and your husband are in the same business too, of
Yeah.
science and just kind of keeping it all going.
Yes. So, but planning and kind of outlining, I'm not obsessive thing about the planning. I don't have any single resource that I do. Sometimes I do it on the Google Drive to share with my employees. Sometimes I do it in my notebook, and sometimes I put on the board behind me. So I'm kind of trying to find, but the idea is like if I have a clear tasks for everybody, like within the company even, they're performing on their own. I don't have to check in every time I see them, and I think they feel a lot more like free and confident, in that I have confidence in them to do that. It's like as far as the work, obviously I make tasks for myself, but with the family, it's also getting into routine, right? So, and one more trick that I found, sometimes there's the things that we do at house that take a bandwidth. So I just have a calendar for the house routines. Like I know that on Saturday morning we need to clean the floors. I have a calendar popping up, floor cleaning. So okay, or like 8:30 p.m. is when my daughter goes to bed at 8 o'clock. So at 8:30 I have a calendar popping up, like alternating 2 days of like either reading papers or editing grade students reports, like alternating. Even half an hour in the calendar still will get me further than not having a reminder. And it's like, oh, I'm too tired. It's like, oh, it's just half an hour I'll put in easily. I check off my list and keep going. Yeah, like using Google Calendar for routine things has been a really cool idea. Or like for me, I only learned it probably like with the COVID, because like it was such a routine. So I was like, I don't remember when we last cleaned the floor. They look dirty.
I have a habit of doing the same thing, but I'm a pen and paper type of person because I like to physically check it off, and that helps make it go, yay, I did something.
Right.
But yes, even I have a tendency to go, today, clean the kitchen.
Yes. So stuff like that, I mean, everybody does it to one degree or another, and you just have to find the right balance for yourself. So,
Yes.
but I think hearing from other people that it's all possible, I think it should be inspiring. Like you can have both in a sense of family and career first of all, and then you can have actually three things. You can have family, career, and hobby. So that's two. It's just all about how you're gonna finding a way to merge them all together without conflict.
It's a challenge for everybody, and we all find a unique rhythm, which is kind of fun to share because we go, oh, I hadn't thought of that every once in a while.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
last question we have for you then is if you could tell scientists, whether they be high schoolers just getting started, or they could be middle of the career, or they could be taking a complete shift,
Mhm.
what advice would you give them to take that next step?
Well, don't be afraid of nothing. You know, it's really scary to change things, but if you have a vision, first of all, if you're not happy where you at, create a vision where you want to be, right? So that's a sort of like, where would you be happy, and satisfied and fulfilled as far as the science goes? Like, for example, changing the field, and then don't be afraid and don't hear anybody saying you can do that. You can do anything you want. So, and then create a plan on what would it take you to get to that dream, next dream, so to say, right? And start moving in this direction. Don't be unhappy like right now, but just one day at a time. Like, see if you have more clarity in the path, and keep going. And like a lot of we are raised with a lot of fears. You're not good enough there. You're not good enough here. You can't do that. You can't do that. So, and like it's all hanging in our heads. I think a lot of limitations are in our heads. So I think you just have to separate it and just focus on your vision, where you want to be. Keep going.
That's very good advice from somebody who's conquered a lot of different challenges and fears and just kind of gone, I'm going to do this next.
Right. So, and it works out at the end. It might be, I mean, I can't say like it's the whole journey is easy, but it's a journey. That's adventure. That's what life is for, right?
It really is.
So,
well, I'd like to thank you, Elena. And at the end of this video, if you look down below, you'll find some links to the resources that she has mentioned throughout this interview. And with that, I wish you all a good day.
and my pleasure. Thank you.